Our story begins with the hero, whose name is Kobayashi. He wakes up from sleep in his classroom holding a saw and looks in front of him. He finds his teacher. His whole body is broken, and in this way, he is the first suspect in the killing of the teacher, and he finds an interrogator named Kagami inside him. This detective is in charge of the police department, and he is in charge of the investigation of this case. And in the middle of the investigation in the chapter, Kobayashi's friend, whose name is Hashiba, enters them, and at the same time, a private detective from the Empire comes in. His name is Akishi. Akishi stopped and told Kobayashi that since the teacher was killed in this way, and you are the only suspect, the situation is not in your favor now. He replied to him that all I need is evidence that leads us to the real killer, and then, as if unconscious, I take him to the police station in the city so that he can interrogate him there. After the interrogation, the day after that, Hashiba and Kobayashi went to school. As soon as they sat inside, the whole class was talking about them. At the same moment, they entered their new school. Kobayashi was sitting unfocused, imagining what the teacher's body looked like in the first place. He analyzed the case in his mind and thought of everything that happened, and after school was not over, he took Hashiba and they went to Akichi's house. As soon as he got there, he knocked on the door and found Akichi to open it for him, saying that you knew the place here from. He replied to him, when I was in the headquarters, the police saw a call from you, and I was able to trace the number and reach your place here, and they both entered by air. The first time they entered by air, and after a while Kobayashi spoke. He said to Akishi, I want to be your assistant. I have been happy all my life. All my life I have been playing horror games and reading books, but this is the first time I really feel the real pleasure. Our teacher died, and I was the suspect in the first place, and the killer wants to leave me as the main suspect. For sure the dialogue will be better than a million games. Akichi, he took a little onion, and took some of it, and took his medicine, and they stopped and sat talking for a while, and after I got up, I found Kobayashi insisting that he wanted to be interrogated with him. He said, I will give you a test. If the real killer is really free, you must find him and solve the case. If you pass the test, I will confess to you. Hashiba told Kobayashi of course not, and took him for a walk. Akichi tells them, oh, it's true. I forgot to tell you. I reported you to the police because you are a suspect. At this moment, Kagami entered them with people from the police to arrest Kobayashi. Kagami tells them that we found your handprints on weapons in the victim's house, and his assistant tells them that when we went to the teacher's house, we found many corpses there in the form of chairs, and there were many weapons present. This means that the teacher himself was a murderer, and the person who is killer wanted to kill him in the same way he kills people, and we found traces of your fingerprints on the weapons, so we must take you with us. Akichi says the most important thing is not to forget. The day after that, Hashiba took some of it and went to the school. He entered and sat in the air and listened to all the people talking about Kobayashi. As soon as the new teacher entered them, she opened the stairs and found a mobile phone in it. Someone in the class started to get nervous. The teacher told them that it is okay. I will take him to the police, and they started to complete the lesson, and at the same time Kobayashi is in the police station, interrogating him there, and he is sitting. Hashiba entered him. As soon as Kobayashi entered, he said, what did you do about the need I told you? He answered him, your words were correct. The murderer was with us in the classroom. Kobayashi said that's okay. I have everything I need, and he began to explain the case, telling them the day before the crime. The teacher sent me an email that he wanted to meet me. The killer knew that he was going to meet me, so this means that he was definitely someone close to him. As soon as I entered there, I opened the classroom. I found the teacher dead, and the killer was hiding, and as soon as he saw me, he sprayed me with anesthesia and made me pass out. Then he ran outside and waited until the guards walked away, and he came back at night and began to shape the body of the teacher and put the saw in my hands to show that I am the killer. Akichi says medicine, and why the teacher kills people and turns them into chairs. He replied to him because he loves them. The teacher was a mentally ill person. The people he loves try her for chairs so that they stay with him for a long time, and this means that the person who killed the teacher was one of the people she loves and a mental patient like him, so that he could turn him into a chair in the same way, and then they all went to the classroom. Kobayashi went and opened the door to find a woman looking in the drawer for the mobile phone that was there. Kobayashi said that you thought you had thrown away the teacher's mobile, but you got nervous when the teacher took it out. But I would like to tell you that this is not his real mobile. This is a mobile I told Hashiba to put it down. And the teacher was also acting like a bone. Now that we all know who the real killer is, the police entered and was able to arrest her. After the conversation, they all went to Eikichi's house. Once they got there, Kobayashi was saying, "I'm supposed to pass the test now?" He replied, "You can say that you passed well, and I will consider you as my assistant." The day after that, there was another freedom. Many people started disappearing at once. Kagome tells them that the police suspect that the Shadow Man is the kidnapper. Hashiba asks them, "Who is the Shadow Man?" Akishiti replies to him, "A professional thief in disguise. But I only see one weirdo and that's it. And he always wears a paper bag on his head, and he tells them that this case will not make any difference with me. I have no claim to it." Kobayashi told them that it is okay. "I will be responsible for it." Kagami said that it is not useful to let anyone other than the police take care of the investigation. Leave it alone at the police. He took some of him and walked away. Kobayashi took Hashiba, and the two of them went outside. He said it was a sweet disguise. "Actually, I was thinking that you might be the real Akichi," and the person in front of him appeared to be a shadow man, and he said to Koyachi, "I want to talk to you." They all went and started talking while they were sitting. The shadow man told him, "I have never kidnapped anyone. There is another one who kidnaps people. I was trying to catch up with him for a while, and he talked to him for a while, and then he got an entry card for a club that he read. He tells him this card is a personal identity for a girl. I want you to disguise yourself as a girl and enter there. You will find the real kidnapper in the air." And then he walked and started to think about his past. He thinks that there was a very young girl in the hospital who had a serious illness. He was disguised as an old man, a nurse, and many people come to visit her so that she does not feel that she is alone, and the cost of her treatment was very expensive. But he was trying to find the money and treat her, but now she was kidnapped by the same person. The important thing is that Kobayashi disguised himself as a girl and entered the air and was able to reach the place of the kidnapper. As soon as he entered the air, the kidnapper was able to kidnap him too, and they took his place. As soon as he entered the air, there were some girls sitting there, telling them that from today there is a new member who will join to our family. And he took some of him and walked. After a while, his mother entered there and started talking to Koyachi. As soon as she entered, she said to Koyachi, "Sorry I got you into something like that." He replied to him, "I know you were a shadow man," and the two started to talk, and in Kobayashi's text says, "It doesn't matter to me now. You go and see the girl I was looking for." The shadow man ran quickly and entered the air. "I found some girls." And the girl he was looking for was not there. Omel asked them, "Where are the rest of the girls who were still there?" They said, "In the air behind a piece of cloth on the wall." He ran quickly and his heart was beating hard. He entered me in the air and removed the blanket that covered the wall and removed the blanket that covered the wall and looked around to find petrified girls in the air. As soon as he saw the scene, he began to remember everything that happened to him. The girl once came to him and said to him, "I know that you used to come to the hospital in the form of an old man, a nurse, and other people, and you also paid me the costs of treatment. Because of you, I became better now, and I finally managed. I see the school. Reply to it then. From now on, I will not let you see any other meaning in your life." And he stood in front of her now and began to remember all these words and shed tears. As he was standing looking, he found the thief who entered upon him. As soon as the thief entered, he hit the shadow man and pushed him far away. The shadow man got up and started yelling at him, telling him why she killed this girl when she had no fault. "I crushed her body and put it with cement and made it a statue in the wall. And I did this to anyone who did not want to be from my family." And he began to beat him while he was beating Hashiba in him. And Jim was looking for the shadow man, but they found him not there, and they were standing and talking as if he was unconscious. And he told them, and he was annoyed that I found that he was an old criminal and was sentenced to prison before, but he got out of him under the pretext that he was mentally ill, and he came back again and started kidnapping people. There is a defect in the justice of the police. The issue is not fair. And the day after that, a message was sent to the police headquarters from someone called the owner of 20 Faces. This owner of 20 Faces was an old person. He kills people who were acquitted in previous rulings and got out of prison. And every time before he kills someone, he sends a video to the police, telling them that I will kill a new victim for a few hours. And after he kills her, he photographs the corpse and sends it to the police. This conversation was 2 years ago, but today it came back again on the scene. Kobayashi and Hashiba were sitting at Akichi's house, and they were sitting at Akichi's. He gave Kobayashi his identity that he was still considered an investigator, and he told him that after the cases were resolved, the state recognized you as an investigator, but on a temporary basis. After that, he received videos of the 20-faced man, and he began to watch them. While watching Kobayashi, he asked him who he was. He replied that he was a grocery store guy for 2 years who had been killing criminals who had taken him free, and he was trying to appear as a hero. Indeed, there were people who took him as a hero, and that he was their savior, and many imitators appeared to him during that period. The last one, but now he is almost 20, and the real thing is back again. While they were sitting, Kagami reached them there and began to tell them about the details of the case, and they began to analyze the crimes he committed, and they concluded that he always kills people in the same way that they used to commit their crimes, and he tries in every way to be a hero in the eyes of the people. Kobayashi and Akishi kept thinking. Days pass, and any one of them tries to find a solution to the problem, and the 20-faced man is still killing criminals as he is. And at this time, the same person who was kidnapping people and evacuating them from his family was acquitted from prison under the pretext that he was mentally ill and became free again as he is. And after he came out while walking on the street, he entered a Majuda street and found himself passed out. He fainted and opened his eyes. He found himself tied up and unable to move, while he was there looking in front of him to find the owner of 20 faces in front of him. The owner of 20 faces started hitting him, and he was about to kill him, but in one moment before he killed him, Pecha reached me there. He stood in the air and began to fight the man with 20 faces until he fell on the ground, and the man with 20 faces opened the gun on him. The first time he fell on the ground, he was able to snatch the pistol from him and get up again. The first thing he said was that I had replaced the real bullets in the pistol with dummy bullets, but that's it. There was no need for this, because you will never kill any innocent person, because this dialogue is against your principles, and you can now take off the mask as normal, because we all knew who you are, and the first time he took off the mask, it turned out that the interrogator was unconscious. The first time the owner of the 20 faces took off the mask, it turned out that he was the investigator Kagami. Akichi took him and led him to the interrogation. As soon as his assistant was there, he asked him, "Why did you do that?" They have the whole story. The person who was kidnapping people before that was accused of murder, and then I was able to arrest him, and he went to prison, and then he got out of it under the pretext that he was mentally ill, and at that time I didn't have anyone in my life except my sister. My sister was working hard for her university. And when the kidnapper got out of prison, he went to my house and killed my sister while I was at work. And since then, I was devastated. I knew that the law no longer protects people. We needed something bigger than that. And at that time, I was able to recognize the story of the 20-faced man. I tried to imitate him to take revenge on my sister, but in the end, you were able to follow me. And he told them that now I am no longer a police officer. He grabbed a book from what he had and started thinking about what happened. The day after the exam started at school, Koichi is sitting without exams in his brain and not concentrating on them, and workers analyze the events that happen. After knowing that Kagami was disguised as one of the 20 faces, more than 11 appeared after him, and until now, more than 3 appeared in the same month. The events are proceeding normally. Every time one of the 20 faces appears, Akichi goes and is able to destroy him. In the middle of the events, Kobayashi asks Akichi why you were always interested in the issues of the 20 faces. I have never seen you solve cases with this same enthusiasm. Akichi responded to the dialogue is greater than that. The whole issue started with a dispute between me and one of my friends. Namikoshi, he was the first person to have 20 faces. The whole conversation started a long time ago. I was an ordinary student at school. I didn't have many friends. I wasn't convinced that there was someone qualified to be my friend. My intelligence, he was taller than any child at the time. Until I was at school, I found a study paper for one of us. The first thing I knew was who I was going to see. It turned out to be Namikoshi. The students were beating him there, so I went there and got rid of them all. He is the first person with whom I start talking in my entire life. and I felt that he was exactly the same as my thinking, and we understood each other very well. He was the first person whose intelligence was almost equal to mine, and from that time, Namikoshi always talked about the change of society. Akichi used to say that the topic is big. You are sure you will be able to do it. Namikoshi used to say that I will not be able to do it alone, but if you are with me, I will surely be able to do it. We used to spend all our time after school in our calculations. The results that we got every time from the program were dazzling us, and almost after a while, the real equation became clear and we were able to reformulate it. The equation was a legend that spreads by itself, a masked maniac who wants to destroy all the bad guys in the world until this mask became known as the 20 Faces Man. We had to stop at that time, because the issue was going to be bigger than our size, and I also isolated myself from the topic. Kobayashi asks him, "Why did you do that?" He answered him, "Because I found a fatal error in it." But Namikoshi was continuing in it. I tried to oppose him a lot at the time. The equation had a terrible flow of information. The required elements were coming out of a number of giant accounts, but they were all errors. I stopped Namikoshi and I told him that I would not continue, and this was the quarrel that happened between us. And after a while, I found him sacrificed himself and jumped from a bridge and committed suicide. The story spread in the media. A high school student committed suicide in order to achieve justice, and since then demons appeared disguised after that. Many people became the owner of the 20 faces. Many people began to imitate them, and I was killing them all. Kobayashi said, "What did you do?" He answered him, "Or anything. The living could not do anything to the people who died. I used to kill the imitators of the 20. He made a face because of my own reasons in the end. And he turned his face and said to Hashiba, 'Don't let Kobayashi die from you because you will regret it after that.'" Stoop, a quick note. The equation that exists and that they are talking about is an equation that he created, and it puts all the possibilities that exist and gives them the expected solution, and that is why it is used in the crimes of the 20-faced person. And what happens is that he puts all the possibilities to the person who he wants to kill him, and the equation replaces him with the correct result that makes him kill the victim and escape from the police without recognizing or anything. And just like that, let us go back to complete the video. And yet before we continue, of course, all of this is an illusion from the imagination and the writer, and everything is forbidden. They are already infidels, so you don't turn off the video and go to search for the equation of killing people, which is not a code in GTA. And let's continue the video, and this time, seriously, by the way. Akichi took Kobayashi and Hashiba and showed them the equation. He began to explain to them the working system of it, and he told them that I didn't even believe that I would be able to do something like this. But we were really able to do something like this. But we were really able to achieve it, and because of this equation, appeared. And until now, after Namikoshi died, if I can find the missing episodes, I will be able to put an end to the events that happen and finish everything related to the 20 faces. Kobayashi said that it is an equation that you cannot solve. The dialogue is big. I want to help you solve it, because I'm sure the dialogue will be interesting. Akichi refused at first, but then let Kobayashi and Hashiba help him with it. Days pass by and everyone is still trying to solve it. He preferred the issue as it is. Every day they try to solve it. To some extent, Kobayashi was able to think about it. He quickly came down and said to Aichi, "I can find the solution. Your movements are also counted in the equation, since Namikoshi, he was your first and only friend, and you two did it together, so he must have calculated your movements from them, because now there are many people who support the owner of 20 faces saying your name. Your actions now remain linked in a fundamental way in the influence of the owner of 20 faces." Akichi began to dissolve the equation. He was trying to talk to Kobayashi about what he said until the end. He was able to solve the equation. When he solved the equation, he came and told them the expected solution now for what will happen is that there will be a call from a person who will say that he has 20 faces, and in fact he is still looking to find a call coming from them. Kobayashi tells them everything is now going right. Akichi answered and found a woman in him saying that I am the owner of 20 faces, and there is a person who is going to kill him. You must take care, and I ended the call after that. Akichi used the equation and was able to know that the victim is a neurologist. He and Kobayashi went to the party where he was present. The first time the doctor came out to be kind, and then a voice came out. This voice was the same as the one who spoke to Akichi. The voice began to expose the doctor, and that he was dying of patience with a disease he had invented and had the cure for. It appears that he is a savior for humanity, and the person who dealt with this whole conversation is the police doctor. This doctor was the one who used to analyze corpses in the police and used to appear in the anime, but I dragged her on. This doctor says that I also poisoned all the food that is here, and everyone will die soon, and suddenly Ichi appeared. The doctor says that you failed in the dialogue. That's it. He replied to her that you failed. I changed the food that was in the hall, and you didn't even kill anyone yet, but the police are all here and you will be arrested. The doctor started laughing, saying I knew that all this would happen, and suddenly a picture of a person appeared. This person says, finally, I was able to meet you. Akichi ran quickly so that he could catch up with him and go to meet him, and Kobayashi tried to go with him, but there was someone who took him. Akichi ran quickly and went to the place where he was. As soon as he arrived there, the person told him that the world is very narrow. The dream that we live in at night is the same as the reality that we live in. He took off the mask and appeared as Namikoshi. The media is all there, and the footage is being broadcast. In the whole world, everyone knew that the owner of the real 20 face came back again and said to Akshi, I wanted to talk to you more, but unfortunately I have to walk now and take some of it and walk from there. Kobayashi was fainting. He opens his eyes and finds Namikoshi in his face. Namikoshi tells him, I am sorry for this treatment, but I had to talk to you for a while. I brought you here for one reason, which is that I want you to hear the story. The story from the beginning is that I was a student in school, one who has no friends. My family always used to torture me and beat me all the time. And at school, the students always bullied me. My whole life was suffering from me when I was young. Until after that, I got to know Akichi, and he changed my whole life. He took me with him to the library, and he told me that the place is here, why no one comes. You will not meet the children who beat you, your family, or anyone. Here we will be able to do what we want in our comfort. And I started to tell him about what I want to do. I wanted to make a theory that ends the possibilities and has an impact on the real world, and I'm thinking of calling it Black Star. And I'm going to try to make it change the whole world. I was trying to do it on my own, but I wasn't able to. But as soon as I found Akichi, the equation started to become real. Our goal was to change the world, but of course the violence that was happening to me was still going on, hitting the kids at school and from my family at home, but all of this did not affect me. The first time I thought that I was going to meet Akichi and sit together in the library, I was forgetting everything, and at the time when the kids were hitting me at school, Aichi was coming to catch me from them, until he didn't come on the day of Echi. He wasn't there. The same kids were all around me, and one of them took out a knife, opened the knife, and put it on my neck, and actually cut a part of it, and I got naked at the time. Echi at that time was coming. He tried to look for me, but he couldn't find me. At that time, I went home, but my family didn't care about me, and my neck kept bleeding on its own. Akichi came to my house, and I heard him talking to my family and asking them about me. But my father, all he told him was that he had a common cold, and he didn't want to go to the hospital. And I stayed as I was sitting. I was bleeding, and this was the cause of the wound on my neck. After the conversation, I was able to lessen it, and I didn't want to tell Akichi anything about it. When I was hidden, we preferred to go back to the library and work on our equation together until I was really finished. The results came out, but at that time I found Akichi telling me to stop. I replied to him, why? We were close to ending it. All our efforts would be wasted on the ground, but Aichi was telling me the equation is headed by death. He stood in it now, the first time he said this word, and I suffocated. And he felt the greatest pain in my life, because he was the reason that made me forget everything I lived. And then I was able to work on the equation on my own. And my goal was to show him that it would have value, and I kept developing in it until now. And the person who committed suicide 3 years ago was not me. My doll was in my place, and I was counting on my image spreading in the media. And from that time, the people who were to blame in her life, and with the support of the idea of the owner of 20 faces, began to emerge. All these words I had planned in my life, I wanted to show Aichi that our generosity was not on the ground. Kobayashi replied to him. And sure, you brought me here now so that I can be the final episode of the story. He replied to him that you will not be the only one who will end it. Me, we are all here, You and I and people who believe in this issue will end the dialogue. We will all go down from the top of the building here and all the media will be there. Our lives will be a sacrifice for all the people who are forming in her life. Kobayashi replied to him, and I agree that I will be the last part of the law. They all came out and stood outside. All the media was filming. While they were standing, Namakoshi said to Akachi, I want you to come here. Every 5 minutes you will be late. One of us will fall from above. But the most important thing is that you come alone. Aochi started running to get there. And he's running. I found many people with 20 faces trying to stop him. But the shadow man came there and disguised himself as he was able to stop him in his place and let the real Aichi escape. And he was running Hashiba to him and said, come ride quickly. There is no time. And they both ran over there. And they both ran over there. And they are going up the stairs and running upstairs. Hashiba asked Akichi, what are you going to do? He replied that I can't do anything in both cases like this. I will be the loser, Yama. Kobayashi, who dies and saves Namakoshi, or vice versa. And he said to Hashiba, the most important thing is not to forget your promise. You promised to protect Kobayashi. Akichi came upstairs. As soon as he came up, I found Namakoshi and Kobayashi standing to jump. Akichi told Kobayashi not to be deceived by his words. He replied that I feel his words are right. I wish my life would be useful, Namakoshi said to Kobayashi. Come on now, and the two of them stood up on the edge, and before any word, the two of them jumped from above. As soon as they fell, Akichi ran quickly and grabbed Namakoshi's hand, saying, I don't want you to die now. Kobayashi opened his eyes and said exactly as I wanted. Now the two of them can resolve the dispute between them, and I'm dying in peace now, and he's still falling for me. Hashia tied a rope above and jumped him too to catch him, and he was actually able to catch him and shave him too. Akichi says to Namakoshi that I was able to save you at last. Go back to your normal life and let us remain friends like the first. He replied to him while he was tearing up, but it was too late. I wanted you to know everything about me, but our life will not be complete, and he began to let go his hand and say that now our black star will be complete. And the last word he said to Akachi, thank you for everything you did, and after his hand he fell. After the dialogue, people were able to save the rest. Kobayashi went with the ambulance to get treatment there, and Hashiba started talking to Aichi. Akichi asked him why you love Kobayashi in this way. He answered him because he is my only friend. After I got to know him, he was the reason I know the meaning of friendship.